Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and today is Writer Wednesday, and we're going to talk about using tarot and the hero's journey to outline. I'm going back over this. This will be, I think, the third, maybe, or the fourth time I've done this via a series. One of the things that I use is tarot for writers. Another thing that I use is R1's e-course, 33 Days to Finish Your Novel. And I have my writer bullet journal inside my writer's Bible. And you're going to see pictures. They're going to be over here so you can tell what I'm doing. Last week we did the ordinary world. So I'm going to show you a picture where I finished up some writing and I put in two of the three tarot cards that I pulled for the ordinary world, the ones that I thought were the more important ones, simply because I didn't have room for the third one. And for the rest of it, it'll be all three cards, but I'm probably going to draw the Three of Pentacles in the little blank space at the bottom of the page. So in the ordinary world, we had the Hanged Man, the High Priestess, and the Three of Pentacles. Now we're going to go to the Call to Adventure. The Call to Adventure is an extremely important part. It's not the most important part. I don't think there is a most important part other than having it all together and following your, I don't know, your connections, because you have to have this lead to this and this lead to that. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have subplots. You're going to have all this good stuff in here, and you want it to lead to each part, and you want the reader to be enthralled. You don't want the reader to put the book down. You have to have some stuff going on. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to kill off our babies. I really didn't want to kill off the grandmother, but that's one of the primary things that leads to all of this. And things happen, unfortunately, in the fiction world and in the non-fiction world, and in the real world. Let's go to the Call to Adventure. I pulled the Death card, the Nine of Swords, and the Strength card. Now what I did is I took all of the same cards that I pulled this first go round for the Witchy Business novel when I did it the very first time, and I repulled the cards. Now the Hanged Man and the High Priestess and the Three of Pentacles happen to be similar. They were the same cards I pulled, just this is in a completely different sort of order. But I knew where I wanted to go with the novel, but I needed to change things up because I'm changing point of view. Going from first person to third person, I believe. It's not set in stone, but all right. The Call to Adventure. The Death card. A lot of people are afraid of the Death card in most regular readings when you're reading for divination. But in this, when you're outlining, using it for visual aid, for outlining purposes, for writing, sort of as a prompt, the Death card can be symbolic of what it really means in the tarot, which is endings, beginnings, change, transformation, transition, or it could actually mean a literal death. In this sense, it's going to be both a symbolic and a real. Her grandmother has died. She is notified of that in the ordinary world. So we're going to have her funeral in the ordinary world. She's left with big changes in her life. It was a real death. There was a literal death, but now we're getting to what that death means in her life. Then we end up with the Nine of Swords. Now, the Nine of Swords is a card of anxiety and fear, nightmares, and that made sense to me because after the funeral's over, the meeting with the lawyer's over, she's there and she's going to go back to her ordinary world. She felt at home when she was back home, but she's had all this upheaval. Her life has been turned upside down. She's gone back to her ordinary world and she's having nightmares. So she goes back to visit. And while she's there, her and Finn talk, and she's already met at the funeral, but she doesn't really remember. But she's introduced to Zane Milton, who is going to end up her love interest. who is her brother's friend. He owns a local bar. It's called the Blues Bar and Grill. And she's comforted by the fact that her brother has a friend, somebody to lean on other than just family, other than her, since she is, as far as she's concerned, actually going to go back to her regular life. She's afraid though. She's afraid of what in her heart, she's being called to move back home. She's being called to go back home. We haven't gotten to the actual call to adventure yet, though. This is her inner turmoil here. So she tries to be a rock for everybody. She's trying to be strong on the outside, but really on the inside, she is afraid. She's sad. She's depressed. When she's at home, she feels more at home. She feels less anxious. So we have the strength card. Can she move back? Can she be a leader? She's being asked to be head of the coven. That is actually going to be one of the parts of the call to adventure. So the funeral has taken place already, and after everything is over, the meeting with the lawyer and the funeral and everything, while she's visiting, because she's trying to make up her mind whether she wants to move back or not, her grandmother's ghost comes to visit her. And the grandmother's ghost tells Quinn that there's more going on than what appears to be on the surface. And she points Quinn towards her desk, and Quinn finds a hidden compartment. And inside that hidden compartment, she finds her grandmother's journal and her grandmother's book of knowledge. You could call that a book of spirit or a book of shadows. People call it all different kinds of things. Her grandmother disappears. So in that portion, her call to adventure, where I leave off in this, is so that I don't reveal everything. What's in the book is going to be important. She's going to be reading portions of her grandmother's journal. She's going to have the book of knowledge, because it now belongs to her. There are a lot of people in the coven, including the witch who murdered her grandmother, who we do not know who that is at this point in time. We know that she belongs to the coven, but we don't know who she is exactly. So where we're at with that is she's going to find out in her grandmother's journal some of the logistics that are going on in the town, in the coven, with the secret society that people don't really know exactly much about it, but they are trying to rid the world of all and any and all supernatural beings. They don't want any witches, they don't want any psychics, they don't want anything. I think that is important. It's definitely what she's going to read in the journal, as well as what she's found out when she met with a lawyer. The grandmother, this is a hereditary thing. She is a hereditary witch. She was born into this family of witches. It is their family witchy business. Her family has been in this town since before the town was actually founded and became a town. Her ancestors came from Scotland, and to avoid the burning times. And I think it's very interesting. I'm going to put some backstory in here in the ordinary world, in the call to adventure. In each chapter, there's going to be a tiny bit of backstory about Scotland and witchcraft in the burning times, about the deep south and back during those times, because what happened in Salem happened in a lot of different places, just not as widespread. It wasn't as, I guess, publicized as Salem ended up being. So we get to the refusal of the call, and I have already put the tarot cards in there. I'm going to be working on that this week, and I will do the video about that. One of the things I have been struggling since the end of the year, since the end of last year, with writing. I wanted to redo this book. I had another book that was a shiny new idea that just, it was calling to me. I got 3/4, a little bit over half of the way through that novel, but this one kept calling me back home. This one kept calling me. The witchy business novel has been on my mind for at least 5 or 6 years. A good 5 or 6 years. It's based on a real life event. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But I think it's really important when you want to write. I am a plotster, a plantster, a whatever you want to call it, a loose outliner. This doesn't really seem like loose outlining, I know, but I write down a summary of what I think will happen in each section. These sections will most likely be divided up into chapters, or maybe it'll be an actual chapter all on its own. When I'm writing, I have the summary of what I think is going to happen in this section, or this chapter, I should say. What I think is going to happen may turn out to be a little bit different because the characters call to you. At least to me, they do. They speak to me. Sometimes I dream about the characters. Sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I will zone out and I'll be picturing my book in movie style in my head. It just happens. Since I knew I wanted to make an immense amount of changes, include because of POV, and other things, I have been sitting on this novel since NaNoWriMo. Well, yeah, since before that actually. But I want to really get this written. I want to do it justice. And so sitting on it and doing research and stuff has been actually a very good thing for me because it's getting me excited about it. It's making me do a little bit more in-depth and studying and things like that. I know I need to plot out more character sketches. So what I may do is put next week's video into 2 parts. We will cover the refusal of the call, and I will do that briefly, and then I will actually do a character sketch of one of the characters, not the main character, but one of the other characters. Perhaps we'll go with the antagonist, and I'll do a character sketch of the antagonist. I'll fill up a page. We'll go through, I'll pull his cards, and maybe it'll be a 2-part video. I'll have to film it maybe and do 2 parts unless I make it just a longer video. Sometimes the longer videos are harder to render and edit, but I think it's important that we kind of go through this because people have asked several questions. How do you do that? And since I'm working in the bullet journal and I think it's really important, I can actually cover this bit by bit. Covering sections of this bit by bit means that I can do outlining. I can focus on not only the outlining of, say, my plot, but because I'm a character-based writer, focusing on some of these characters, like the antagonist, who is the Emperor. I pulled the cards: the Emperor reversed, the Chariot reversed, the Tower, the Queen of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles. So we are going to, and I just wrote some information when I did his, how he sees others around him, how other people see him, what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses. And I will actually do a character sketch, put the copies of the cards in here, and we'll go from there with that, because I think that might help too. It'll help me. Doing this helps me, and maybe it'll help answer some of your questions. I am not a professional writer. I have gotten more out of Arwen's class and doing these videos and holding myself accountable and this book and actually studying tarot than I have before. Outlining using the hero's journey and tarot has really opened my mind. It's really opened my mind to being more free with what I'm doing with writing, more imaginative, opening that door to my imagination, to the pantsing side of me, while being organized at the same time. And that has been extremely important to me. Arwen's method really, truly just resonated with me. I meshed and connected with this method in a way that has really helped me, because I can take these images and I can look at other cards, other tarot decks that are these same cards, and look at those images as well. And maybe we'll do that too when we do the antagonist. Maybe that'll help. If I take some of the cards that are from some of my other decks and we'll look at those cards, you could pull, if you wanted to, an oracle card. You could pull any number of different cards if you have a question, if you're thinking about it, the novel, and that would work too. And I may do that too. We'll have different parts in the series where if I think of something or I need a little help with something and I do something different, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. I think this has been probably, this time around is actually, and I'm taking my time with it, I'm doing it slower. I just mesh with this. I connect with this. It allows the left brain and the right brain to work in conjunction with each other for me, which is really important. Now, if I can get this done and then get the novel written, I want to write the end. For those of you who haven't already seen her video, Tamara Woods, otherwise known as Pen Paper Pad, wrote the end on her novel that she's been working on for a good while now. I'm so proud of her. Tamara, if you're watching or when you watch, cheers, congratulations. I can't wait to write the end, and I can't wait to read your book. So get to editing. Take your break and then get to editing because I really want to read that book. Bye, y'all. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.